Hi, welcome to this, watch Emmy put stuff on her face. Probably not what I'm going to call it, probably going to go more of a kind of like get ready with me, because that seems like a better title. Going well, going well. So first step is I've got to decorate all my hair, make sure it's all behind my piercings because it'll get caught. Don't do it, kids. Usually, sometimes I'll use like a headband, but all I had with me this time was like bobby pins, so I'm just gripping everything back before we get started. And our first thing is going to be primer. I use the Maybelline Baby Skin. Oh, don't forget to take those off. And I have actually used the Benefit Professional Primer because that one's a mattifying primer. I feel like it dries my skin a little bit more. Whereas the Maybelline Baby Skin, as well as it being a pore reducing one, it's not as drying. It feels like it's more moisturising to my skin. So I much prefer that one, and it's loads cheaper. So now I've done that, I'm gonna let that sink in. Wash your hands because this primer is a little bit sticky, but that's fine because it helps the foundation settle onto your skin quite nicely. Going in with just any old foundation brush, and dotting that around. I don't really use a lot of high-end products. Most of what I use you probably considered drugstore. I know that's not really a term we use here, but that seems to be in all like kind of makeup videos that I've seen, that seems to be the term people use, so I'm going to use it. Yeah, most of my makeup is drugstore brands because I can't afford much else, but I still want to, look cute. So now that foundation is just kind of dabbed like kind of evenly all over with the foundation brush, going to go in with a slightly damp off-brand beauty blender, just any makeup sponge or anything like that. I'll do the same thing. Keep that nice and blended in, just make sure it's not patchy. Just a little something I want to say, there's a mirror, if you see, to both sides of me actually in this video, so if you see me looking off to either of the sides, it's just me looking in the mirror because, as I said, I don't have my glasses on for most of it, so I can't really see a lot, so I have to get pretty close to the mirror if I want to make sure things are looking good. So now, I know I just said that I don't use much high-end makeup, but for this Christmas I got a few Benefit sample size stuff, and this is a sample size of their Boing concealer, so just kind of piling that onto one of my concealer brushes. Actually, I really enjoy this concealer. I might invest in a full size one when this runs out, or we'll see if I can find a drugstore dupe for this concealer because it's actually really good. I'm just dotting this on any problem areas, on my forehead, on my chin, around my nose, and then I do down my nose, my T-zone basically, and then my under eye. I'll make sure I conceal that nicely too, straight across, quite a lot under my eye because I like to brighten that area up because I've got quite a lot of redness in my cheeks that I don't like, so I try and start with quite a heavy concealer over my cheek area to kind of neutralise that. And again with this we're going to go in with that beauty blender to blend it all out. A few bits in this I've sped up because you don't need to see me dabbing my face for 20 minutes, so yes. And actually I've got some smaller beauty blenders. These blenders are actually from W7, they came in a kit. There was two of those small ones and that one big pink one that you see came together, and I think the W7 ones are really good. They expand a lot when you wet them, and they're really soft and they do a really good job. Now with this NYX setting powder, I'm just going to go over where the main areas of my concealer are, so forehead, under the eyes and my chin, a little bit on my nose, and we're going to do a little bit of baking on my concealer just to really set that, but mostly because obviously this was my New Year's Eve look, and pizza came at this point, so I had to take a pause and I thought pause while I eat. Gonna do some baking. As you can see, finished, and we're just going to take a big fluffy brush and just kind of wipe off any excess powder and blend in what is there. And this powder is quite pale, but I quite like my makeup to be pale because then when I add the contour and the blush, it's like a bit more of a contrast with that there. And now I'm going to go in with my eyebrows, and again I'm using two different of my Benefit minis. This one is the little brow pencil, which I was actually really impressed with because in the stick it looks quite dark and I'm quite fair, but I just went through really lightly and it just picked out the shape of my eyebrow really nicely. One thing I do always do when I'm doing my makeup is realise that I haven't plucked my eyebrows until I get to this stage, and that happened with this look, and then either I'll have to pluck my eyebrows and redo my whole like skin makeup in the area, or just, you know, go with it anyway and just say, you know what, I'm gonna have eyebrows this time, because, you know, nothing has to be perfect or anything. You know what they say, sisters, not twins, and that is something I stand by, because not only with my eyebrows, eyeliner, with everything, because they're not naturally the same shape. I can try and even them up, but they're never going to be exact, so as long as I'm happy with how they look, then that's fine. Going in with the second of the two products now, and this is the Gimme Brow, and it's just a little, like a tiny little spoolie with like a gel cream in it, almost like a mascara, and I thought this was actually really good. It really defined individual hairs and kind of set on top of that pencil. I can imagine it being really good over a powder brow makeup as well, to set that and just kind of define the brows really nicely. It did make it a little bit darker, but thankfully, because my hair's pink at the minute, my roots coming through and they look a bit darker, so it does go right quite nicely. When my hair's freshly bleached, I have to make sure my eyebrows are a lot lighter than this. Going in with, again, Benefit's Hoola bronzer, which is what I've been using for my contour recently. It's quite a nice shade for me, and it's not too, I don't really like glittery bronzers, like really glowy ones, because I quite like most of my makeup to be matte. So I'm just going in there in the main areas, the cheekbones, under my chin, hitting that forehead, really got to blend that through. And now you see what I mean about making my base face quite pale, because then that contour stands out a little bit. This is a mini Benefit brush that came with a mini Hoola I got for this Christmas. And I thought it'd be really good to do my nose contour, and I've just squeezed the bristles right down to make it as thin as possible, and just dab along the nose, a little bit underneath, a little bit just across the middle to try and get that shape down nicely. And that in, because I don't want my nose contour to be too harsh. I want that to be the softest of all of the contour bits that I do, because that just wants to be a little hint, just in that bit there, between where the nose meets the eye crease, basically, to kind of give that shape through the brow. And again, with my beauty blender, this is the same beauty blender that I've been using for the whole thing. I don't wash them in between, because the little bit of foundation and the little bit of concealer that will be on there will help blend out. And then I've got the little one that I use this with my concealer, just to go through the nose. One thing I always do, I always put a little bit right under my bottom lip, so it makes your lips look bigger and fuller. The same thing as highlighting your Cupid's bow. If you put a little bit of bronzer just underneath the bottom lip, it gives you that shadow, makes your lips look even fuller, which is something I look for because I don't like overlining my lips, so I usually just go in for my highlight contour. Now we're going in with my Shade and Light palette by Kat Von D, and got to be honest with you again here, this is a fake, which is why the pigments aren't very strong, but that is not a problem for me. I did lose a little bit of footage here, so as you see I'm just going in with the lightest shade, mostly on the inner corner of my eye and up on my brow bone, and then I'm going to go in with a kind of medium dark brown shade to do my crease. And then the bit that you don't see here is alongside my Benefit Minis, I had 3 kind of glittery golden shades. So my crease, I put in the darkest brown shimmer shade, and then on my lid I'll put the gold shade. But as you can see, that kind of nice gold colour really blended through. Those all neutral shades, I really like them at the minute. Like I said, I'm not usually one for glitters, I usually stick with my mattes, but I thought as it's New Year's Eve special occasion, I'll go for a little bit of glitter just on the lid of my eye to give it a bit of a pop. Using this lip and cheek tint as a blush, just buffing that out with a blush brush, but I soon realised it's a little bit too pink and a little bit too subtle for what I want to go for. So I'm going in on top with a powder blush, which is a more peach tone, which suits my skin tone a lot more. Just dip in. I usually do my blush quite high. I just start just behind the apple and go up, following the line of my contour of my cheek to kind of go over the top of that. I'll just use a little kabuki brush just to make sure everything is blended out. I don't want any harsh lines between blush, contour. I want it all to blend as naturally as possible. So next we are doing eyeliner, the dreaded eyeliner. I'm using the Scandalise pen, so it's almost like a felt tip pen, this one. And how I do my eyeliner is I draw the top line about as high as I want it from the inner corner out, and then I go back through and fill in the shape, and then fill in any gaps that I've missed. And I usually do just the straight line over the lid first on both sides, get those even before I even attempt to do a flick. So that's one side done, and then the other side, do the same thing. You draw that first line about where we think it needs to go, fill it in, make sure you get all the way from your lash line to wherever that first line is going, to make sure there's not a gap between your lash line and the eyeliner. This is quite a difficult step. It's one of those, you know, that old panda eye joke, where you stop, see if they're the same size. They're not, so you make the other one bigger to try and match. Thankfully, I didn't need more than this second go over to get them to match enough for my liking. They probably weren't exact, but like I said earlier, sisters not twins, as long as I'm happy with them. And then I go in and hit that right on that inner corner, makes the eye a little bit bigger, elongates the eye, pulls it down towards the nose, without being too dramatic, just a little hint there. And then in with our flicks, and because I wear glasses, I like to do my flicks and my eyeliner a little bit chunky, and do my eyeshadow a little bit more understated, because that's what you're going to see when I've got my glasses on. So I've got my big, quite dark frames, so I like to do my eyeliner, like I said, quite thick, quite chunky, and again it's a case of drawing the outline, filling it in. Oh, the second one's a little bit bigger than the first one, so fill it in, make them just keep going bigger. Sometimes I will wipe off and try again if I really want a small flick, but these are only slightly different, so I decided to just go with the flow and go in just underneath that one, smudge it towards the eye just to kind of complete it, so it's not just stopping at the bottom, it is filling through. And this, the NYX chunky white eyeliner pencil. If you're not using this in your waterline, I recommend you go and get one. It's a staple for me at the minute. Just bottom waterline, really does make the eyes a lot bigger, and it's just one of those little things that makes it, it's a really easy step to do. Put it on, smudge it a little bit, usually use my finger to smudge it a little bit in the waterline so it's not too harsh white. And then I like to go underneath the eye, usually with a medium colour, kind of similar medium colour that I've used on my lid. This one that I'm using now is the same brush that I did the medium brown sparkle on my eye, and just kind of blend underneath with whatever eyeliner's down there, just to kind of tie it all in together so you're not leaving that bottom leaving the bottom lash line bare. And then this is dipping right back into that very, very light shade before and blending through right in the inner corner on the bottom, blending that in to kind of tie in with that waterline eyeliner as well. Really opens the eyes up, makes them look a lot bigger. And that is my finished eye look. Now just for the mascara, and I am using again, another Benefit. This was, I'm going to say now, it's a gift. All of my Benefit makeup is gifts. It's the only non-drugstore makeup I use at the minute. This one's relatively new. It's quite getting the excess off the brush because they do start quite liquidous. The one thing I didn't do for this look is have any false lashes. I do have some came in the mail the other day, but again, because I wear my glasses and I usually keep my glasses on even when I do full big makeup, sometimes if the lashes are too long, they'll hit against my glasses, and then there'll be mascara on my glasses. I won't be able to blink comfortably, and it's just uncomfortable. And again, we are just making sure we get the bottom lashes as well. And like I said, because it's quite it's quite liquidy, so I like to go through with this comb. It takes off any excess and really separates all the lashes quite nicely. And then usually I'll go with a brush, and if there's any bits of mascara that are out of place, like if you blink by accident too quickly and smudges a little bit, just with a brush, this is that same brush from earlier, and we'll just smudge it out a little bit, blend it with whatever eyeshadow you've got. It's not a problem at all. Everyone does it. Everyone will blink too early and get mascara on their eyelids. I usually just blend it out into my crease to make it a little bit darker. What we're doing here is just going through with a little bit more powder to set everything. I like to make sure everything is nice and set, blended. Especially now the blush and the contours have had a time to settle on my face. Just go back through, make sure everything's fine, and then sometimes I'll go back through with a powder blush just to make sure that colour is still there and not too hidden by my powder, because it's not a translucent powder. It's very light, but it's not quite translucent. So I like to go through and make sure everything is set and seeing what it's meant to be. Now this is my very messy highlight and contour cream palette. I know I've used mostly powder makeup, but I'm going to go through with this cream highlight just on all the areas, just very, very top of my cheekbone. I like to take my highlight quite far back as well. Really accentuates that eyeliner flick, I think, if it follows the line of that. Blend that out just a little bit. Also do a little bit at the end of the nose, Cupid's bow, and just a touch on the forehead. I have recently just received a gift of another powder highlighter. It's actually quite a pink tone, so I'm very excited to be using that one. Like I said, just a little bit up there, just to kind of accentuate where we put our concealer and highlight that before. And I do like to go through and blend it out just a little bit, not so that it loses its shine, but just so that it's smoother, more kind of in tune with the rest of my makeup and the rest of my face. And then we're going to finish off with the lip. Because this look, I want to focus mostly on the eyes, and the outfit that I'm wearing for this event is quite understated. I didn't want to do a big bright lip, so I just went back through with that lip tint, a few layers of that, just to put a little bit of colour in my lips, just so I'm not got bare lips. And now you see what I mean. Now I've got my glasses back on. That flick doesn't look so big and so bad because my glasses will frame it. So last step is just to put a little bit of gel. This is like quite a sticky, quite tacky gel. Just rub it between my fingers because I've got quite short hair at the minute, so I can't really straighten it or curl it or do anything like that with it. So a little bit of gel just to give it that little bit of texture. Because the thing is, with such fine hair, it ends up just being flat and not doing anything. And then smooth it down around my undercut, and then really, really fluff it up on the top just to make that as volumized and as fluffy as I can get it, really. Putting as much texture as I can to try and make it last all night. I always, if I am wearing like wax in my hair, usually I'll take it out with me to redo it, but that's just a sign of how flat my hair goes because it's so thin. Anyway, thanks so much for watching me today, and I'll see you soon. Bye!